What is up, everyone? My name's Conrad, and today we're going to be going over Kambi and when to play Kambi once again. If you checked out my first video, you'll note that I probably didn't explain how the combo variation of Kambi works very well, and maybe I'll just quickly touch on that now before I get into another way I've sort of come up with on how to play him. And yeah, we'll go from there. So. The combo variation. Now this is the one that my first video was all about, um, and I've just listed here a few points that we need to make sure we understand before we can fully understand and play the deck. So we must be played on round 3. So Kambi can only be good in this style of deck on round 3. Now this is because there'll be multiple dead cards, and those dead cards will cost you the rounds if you're being bled, and so that's why we try to pull through the first round if we can, and using those Axemen and the Binding Frost for pressure. It's got a high win rate turn 3. Usually if we get to the last round and we haven't been put behind in cards, we probably win about 90% of those games. Now that's not saying the deck has a 90% win rate, far from that. That's because we need to win round 1, which can be particularly hard with so many dead cards, or at least push them out of round 1. And even a draw would be good for us in that scenario. If we get a draw, we can do the same combo in round 2. So it's not the worst case scenario, because Kambi can either be played in the last round with the combo deck, or in the second round, providing that it was a draw in the first round. Just because, you know, both players have to win, and therefore the pressure from the Kambi is relevant. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole combo variation. You need to draw through your whole deck. So that's why we've included all those draws, and we haven't included Hjalmar in that variation, just because we couldn't really fit him. And Siri Dash was the alternate that didn't mean it was another dead card to be played in, that couldn't be played in round 1. So that's why we picked her over Hjalmar in the combo variation. And now I want to talk about possibly the second way to play Kambi, and that's if you want to play him in any round. So in my previous video I said that you can't play him in round 1 and 2, and more or less that's probably still true, but I think with careful consideration you might be able to play him in the first few rounds with a deck that meets certain criteria. So what are these criteria? Firstly, if you want to play him in the first few rounds, you'll need to be within 1 card of catching up before you can play him. So what this means is that if your opponent is, say, 10 points ahead of you, you can't really play Kambi unless you've got something in your hand that can catch up more than those 10 points. That's simply because they'll just pass. People aren't dumb. They'll know that Kambi's going to go off, and that will be bad for them. And if they can milk 2 cards out of you before that happens, then that's a win for them. And so you just wasted Kambi. They've passed, and you either have a choice to wait 3 turns and for Kambi to go off and go behind 3 cards, or you pass as well and you've lost the round and it wasn't much help at all. In fact, it was a hindrance. So that's why we need to make sure that if we want to play Kambi in a different round that isn't round 3, it has to be within 1 card of catching up before you can play him. Okay, so we've been through that. So preferably to play him when you're ahead or even in power. So if you're a little bit behind, it's probably still not preferable to play him, just because their turn they'll be like another 10 points ahead of that, and then they can just simply pass the next turn after, and you still might have to use 2 cards. So yeah, there's the risk there. So it's getting harder and harder to play Kambi in other rounds, but we can still pull it off, and I've got a deck that might be able to show that. He can be used to reset the board, and so that's why this deck that could possibly play Kambi in any other round would have to be a deck that has big tempo play units such as Queen's Guards and the Clan Cherksik skirmishes. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right either. Um, so yeah, we want to use these cards here because um, both these units can be used sort of by themselves. They don't synergize with other cards. They don't buff each other like, say, Reaver Hunters or something like that. This deck is more of a big tempo units deck. They don't need each other to buff each other or anything like that. So what's good about this is that you can make big plays with very few cards, and they don't necessarily have to be golds. Like Queen's Guards are pretty much the crones on a bronze, which is insane. Um, which means if you can get them to if you can take round one with just a few cards remaining, and you've got priestesses, you should win that game. And so that's why I think the res style deck, if any deck can do it, would be the one. Um, and yeah, so you just got to make sure that though you can catch up -11 power advantage from your opponent due to the Hemdall. So they get the 11 extra power after Kambi goes off, as you guys would probably know. And so you just need to make sure that your res deck can carry that 11 power plus more to then also take the round. So it's quite tough, I'd say, very tough to play Kambi any other way than the last turn, of course. So yeah, so why would you play him this way? Like, it's sounding like you might as well just cut him and put in another gold. But there is some advantages. If your opponent has lots of card synergy to catch up in points, then the whole Kambi destruction will completely ruin their game plan. Now, this is particularly effective against units, that buff over time. So Consume would definitely be one of those. And also, perhaps, the Northern Realm style, that they buff off each other, especially with Reaver Hunters. If you can clear off their Reaver Hunters, it's a lot less effective. And so they sort of need their units, especially if there was the Machine archetype. I'm not too sure how strong that is now, but if that's sort of prevalent, then this deck might be good against that. But we'll hopefully find that out. And yeah, so that's one of the reasons you'd play him in this deck, rather than just playing a better gold. And you can force them to pass the round. So if you know that they're going to, take over that turn, it could be because they're playing weather all over your board, and eventually, if you keep playing that round, you're going to go behind. Well, if you play Kambi just before that tipping point where they are ahead and you can't have a chance to come back, if you play it before that tipping point, then Kambi will stop that from happening. The board will be reset, and you can play your massive reses. You can play your Queen's Guard again. So if you've used your Queen's Guard round one to make sure you're still up in tempo and therefore able to actually play Kambi, the fact that you can then use it again because the chicken has wiped the board is just even better. And so I'll go ahead and show you the deck and talk about it before I get into the games, just to make sure you can see the deck I'm talking about. But I'll just quickly go over the points first, and then obviously there's big weaknesses, however. So the graveyard tech decks absolutely destroy Queen's Guard, and we've always all known that, so that's a big problem. Also, Death Wish decks are a big problem because we don't have locks. We only have one lock. I've put one lock in this deck. So Death Wish decks, they're just like having heaps of golds for them. Because they roll over after Kambi, and then rather than it being -11, it could be -20, which makes it a lot harder for us to catch up again with the res cards. But yeah, the advantages would be you can gain massive tempo with a small amount of cards, and you have that ability to entirely stop your opponent's game plan. So I'll just quickly cut to the decks and have a quick talk about it before jumping into a game. Okay, so here is the deck I've been trying to allude to. Now, it's pretty much just a standard Queen's Guard deck. I'm not going to claim the fact that I built this deck at all. It's just anything you would put typically in a Queen's Guard deck. I note that some people not necessarily run 3 of these, but I think it's important just because, you've got the Kambi wiping the board, and then you'll probably need extra reses. And we've also got a pretty secondary good res target, which is obviously the Clan Chusak Skirmisher. Now this guy here can be your alternate res win condition rather than just the Queen's Guards, you know, just in case they stuff up one of your plans, or say you don't get the operator and you can't get the extra one in, then you have something to fall back onto. You only need one of him because you'll probably in most cases be discarding him through King Bran, so it's not like you won't have a chance to draw him, so yeah, that's fine. Apart from that, the difference between this deck and normal Queen's Guard decks obviously is the Kambi, and also possibly the Hjalmar. I don't think many Queen's Guard decks run Hjalmar. Now obviously we take advantage of this guy here with the Kambi and with this fella here, Holger Blackhand. So we can use him to seal the deal through those Kambi turns and make sure that we're not behind at the end of the Kambi going off. And that's basically it. So it's just important, I think, the difference between people not having success with Kambi in these sort of decks is simply because, you know, they might be playing it at the wrong times. Like, you can't be playing this card when you're behind, and you might be having to play him when you're ahead, which I think is what would put most people off. But here's the thing, right? If you're ahead, but you've got no more good tempo plays, you've played all your Queen's Guards, you've got all your bears out, all you've got is a Freya and nothing good to resurrect, then where do you go from there? You're ahead, but they're going to eventually catch up, so, and they probably know that. So that's where the Kambi can be good in this deck. You know, it resets everything and then you can do it again. And so hopefully we can see that in some games to come. And before I end the video, I would also include a game from the original combo deck. Now this deck's unchanged. Kambi did get buffed, and the consideration would be putting in some Savage Bears, considering that they were also buffed. But I've actually decided not to do that, just because I also think the Axeman Frost combo was buffed. Not directly, but just through the fact that there'll be more decks that have lots of units flooding the board, such as the Northern Realms deck. There'll be more of those, hopefully, on the ladder, and there'll be more consume decks. Now, if they are on the ladder, then that'll be also great for us, and I think the Axeman Frost combo benefits more from that rather than the bear. Now, you could cut something and put the bear in, but I'm just struggling to find what would be better. Perhaps you could take out one of the locks, but the locks are really important for the combo to work effectively, because they're big gold units with the advantage of the 11 points from Hemdall will possibly, you know, especially if they have a big gold unit, then they could take the last round, and our 90% win rate in round 3 probably goes down to 60% maybe. So that's how big of an impact the shackles usually have. And also, there's very rarely a game where you don't have a target for both. And also, on top of that, is that sometimes you have to accidentally discard one because you have an Ulderic and it has a choice between Kambi and a lock, and you're not going to be discarding Kambi. So I like to keep still running 2 of these, and First Light's just really good as well. Like, obviously they're not. Most people probably won't be running Ragnarok and Drought anymore, but this card doubles back as a thin as well, and that flexibility is just too good. And I think a lot of people will still be running Weather, so we need to get rid of that Weather in round 1 in most cases, so that we can pressure them more than they are pressuring us. And if we do that, then hopefully they give us the round, and then therefore we pretty much win the game. So yeah, I'll jump into some games, and the first one will be with the previous deck, and the last one will be with this deck here. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll try to answer them. Cheers. Okay, so jumping into a game with the Queen's Guard deck. Let's see how we do. Now there is the risk that we possibly won't even draw Kambi this game.
You're one piece. Fight,
so
fight.
we're not going to be able to draw through our whole deck like we can with the other deck.
Of course, Fred.
Just because that's not what this deck's about. This one's just a Queen's Guard deck with the tech of using Kambi. And we do draw him, so that's cool. We'll actually keep him. We've got both the Hjalmar and the Kambi, so that's great. I'm actually going to keep the Shackles as... Actually, no. So we're not going to keep the Shackles because, like I said, we need to be ahead or on par with them before using Kambi, because otherwise they'll just pass. So knowing that, we need to go for our full tempo plays. He's not one of them. She's fine. Anything gold's really good. Don't need the operator with Elzios. Okay, super. This game might highlight, hopefully, if Kambi can actually work in this deck or not. But that's to be seen. So we're gonna open with Savage Bear to get more value. No need to operate it straight away.
I will not let this become a second Sodom.
Unfortunately for him, Savage Bear got a possibly unnecessary buff. And so he still lives to the tryst now. He might be running a machine variant of Hensel. We'll see. Okay. Let's go ahead and operate on him.
Welcome, chosen one.
I'll never be imprisoned again.
Ouch. We'll want to thin our deck before we use our draws, obviously.
Of course, friend.
So Sari's really good in this deck because she's the extra gold for free almost with Kambi. In a way, she turns Hemdall from a 11 negative power play to just a negative 5. That's pretty good. Possibly playing Reaver Hunters, I guess. Given that we've got no real other res targets, and we've got 2 ways to res right now, we can just discard both the Queen's cards, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong with this play.
I can help you if you wish.
Oh, cool. We got an extra res, so I think it's definitely the right play now.
And now something special.
Okay, I really don't like the idea of playing Kambi this round now, just because of all the gold bodies. So, I'm not going to. Possibly play it in round 2. Nice and early. Using
Glory to
Hjalmar
you.
as well. you'll see how we can play Kambi in conjunction with Hyoma in round 2 to lower their synergy, get us both down to low on cards, and that's when we shine because we have better tempo players with low cards. So we want to try kick him out of the round by resing the Queen's cards. Or do we want to res the bear first? Because the bear can provide a way to get something damaged. I think we'll do the bear first actually.
Modern
I
Freyr
really
is
don't want to draw them
patient, but she brooks no
in
insult.
the next few rounds.
I don't want to die.
Very interesting. We still can't damage something. We'll go ahead and res the Queen's cards now. But it's important to make sure we have a res for the last round.
Modern Freyr is patient, but she brooks no insult. Pansy. Needs a good slapping.
We might even be able to play Kambi next turn. Awesome. So he's used up 3 of his golds, which means he won't have many big bodies, whilst we can be, which is good for us. We got another res, which is super good. Okay, so we can't risk drawing another Shield Maiden, so we're going to keep our whole hand. We're going to, we'll play this round. I think, or do we? Because we do have the Kambi combo for the last turn, and we can gain card advantage now. But we can also gain 2 card advantage by raising the Queen's cards. Let's do that.
Modern Freyr is patient,
We could
but she
possibly
brooks
get 2
no
card
insult.
advantage.
You're good. Real good.
I'm ready.
So we'll insta-pass,
What do you want?
of course, now. You might even have to use 3 cards. So Kambi will be, again, used in the last round, but I think in this scenario, just because we're not waiting to the third last turn, we can consider it being any sort of round. And see, the 32 power play, that's what I'm talking about with such a big swing with so little cards. That was just 1 priestess. And yeah, I think it works well in conjunction with Kambi. It's
But
just
we're
we gotta
broke as shit
make sure we play
peddlers.
him while we're ahead, which is sort of very contradictory.
Salutations.
I've been waiting a long time for this.
I've noticed that a lot of Northern Realms have been running the Witches now. I guess they were buffed, so that makes sense. Cool. So, you got nice card advantage. Awesome. So I'm going to get rid of the Shield Maiden here. Because we've only got one res. And that will be used for the Queen's Guards. So we can't res the bear. Shackles? Actually, won't be too bad. We'll probably find a use for that. Whilst Kambi. So, obviously, now that we're in round 3, can be played whenever. It doesn't matter because they don't have the option of passing. But I'm going to play him even though I'm ahead, just to simulate what it would be like if we were playing in a different round. Yeah. We can kill that. Don't have to worry about saving this guy for just because we can combat that with the Kambi instead.
Calling me a coward?
Long live, etc., etc.
Cool. So, as I was saying, we'll play the Kambi early, though obviously this isn't optimal given we're in the last round. But we're just pretending this is a different round and we're ahead and we're playing Kambi, so... Also, I upgraded Kambi to Premium just because it's my favourite card, so... So he's in the awkward position of knowing he can't play anything.
See me smiling.
He's got his, oh, he's giving us golds.
Regroup.
A thousand thunder and sea devils!
So that wasn't really a super good highlight, unfortunately. Yeah, but I think Kambi has potential in that sort of deck. But like I say, just make sure you play him only when you're ahead, and you also have enough golds to carry that -11 potential. So, yeah, we'll jump into another game now with the combo variation. Okay, so we're jumping into another game with the combo variant this time, and see if it's doing well in this new meta.
The gate must
I presume this will be full consume.
Of course,
And
friend.
I haven't really done this matchup yet. The Harpies might be an issue because of that carryover, but we'll see. Also Neckers. Ooh, Neckers will be really strong because of the massive carryover, of course. But hopefully we'll be able to get a lock on one of them. Okay, get rid of the shield man. We got lots of frost, only one axeman. Let's get rid of our lock. Kambi, don't need him yet. Cool, not too bad. Unfortunately only one axeman though. So if he gets killed, we'll have trouble pressuring him out of this round. But luckily we've got plenty of frost to go around. Unfortunately Aeromancy won't be able to do any thinning this round. I think we'll see why the X-Men truly shine in this match. Oh, he's going to regret that. He might just insta-pass after this tournament, honestly. unfortunate. Okay, we still got all the frost ticking, so that will be a major pain in his butt. I think we need to catch up in tempo though.
Me or me.
It's boring just standing here.
Cool. We're draw now. I'm not too sure why he's continuing to play this round, given the frost is inevitably going to shut him out of it. Seems to me like he's just wasting resources. But it's actually the right play, given that we're playing Kambi, but he shouldn't know that. So we're going to go ahead actually and use the shield maidens now, just to get him out of our deck.
Now! All together! Give them no rest, no reprieve!
Might as well kill this thing. There was no other way we could get the last shield maiden, unfortunately. He really wants to keep going this round. I'm gonna hopefully get him to pass by playing Siri Dash here.
Ho ho, I sense trouble.
If he plays another card, I'll be tempted to just pass. Okay, good. Unfortunately, we won't have carryover, but we'll still have the card advantage with Ulrich. Neckers might be a big issue for us. Luckily, we've got 2 shackles in our deck. We don't need the shackles now, so I'll put... Actually, I'm going to put one of the frost back so we can thin it with Aeromancy. Cool. So unfortunately, Gwent trackers doesn't seem to be loading for me right now, which is a big problem because you really need to know what's still in your deck with this deck. We're just going to go... Do I play Siri Dash? So playing Siri Dash now, yes, it gives me +3, but it puts another card back in our deck, and it risks us, you know, not drawing the draw cards, which will be a big issue. So, given that we are already not going to get a card out of him, let's thin our deck of a frost. Hopefully, this is the one from our in our deck. And it was. That's good. So the egg carryover won't be a problem into the last round. It's when the eggs are still up when the Kambi goes off. So that's the problem. So we'll just, I think we'll better off keeping the shackles now. We'll put in Axeman. Okay, very good. We drew our draw. Okay, so this is why keeping the frost is important. We need to pop those eggs. We'll do that now. Okay, so we have no other way to thin our deck, I believe. So we can go ahead and use our draws.
You will see it in your dream.
Cool, cool. I'm gonna play Uldurig first. We'll chuck him in the cross.
He is here.
See, this is what I was talking about before. Why you need two shackles. Because we'll have to discard one in this case. Potentially he'll be running Kayran. So we'll save the shackles for that rather than the Necker. We'll save the shackles till very last anyway, so we have a choice of what we want to. Okay. We'll go ahead and use our other draws.
Ugh. Gods protect us.
Okay, given that we don't have Gwent Tracker up, I'm actually not sure what our last card is, but that doesn't matter. Just gonna discard anything right now, it doesn't really matter. I think we've sealed this game.
Down in here.
Why should I help you?
Actually, thinking about it, the Elder will probably be even bigger than the Kayran. It might be very unfortunate that we had to discard our shackles, because both those targets would be very threatening. Just gonna use our useless cards. You can see what our last card is with Svan, which we'll do next round. Man, he is going to hate me when I put Kambi down. And I don't blame him, to be honest.
I will prove my worth.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and just discard that Sarah. Yep. Cool. Consideration might have been if we could get a discard buff from Siri, but unfortunately Svan is alive, so he couldn't use it to come to get the last one, to get it back out again, of course, with the res. So he's got a lot of big golds, which is a big problem for us. And we had to discard one of our shackles, which might cost us the game.
What do you need?
Luckily, the bat couldn't consume anything from our deck, and therefore get buffed.
Give him no rest, no reprieve.
Just make it look like, well, he knows I've got no chance unless I pull out a miracle. Which we will be soon doing. Okay. So, hopefully he hasn't saved a shackles to the very last, because that'll be a problem. I'm going to place him next to the Elder, because if his last card's D-Bomb, then he has to D-Bomb the Elder. Not that D-Bomb will stop Kambi. Uh-oh. Oh, thank you. An extra gold. Well, good game.